Today, Lucifer decided to go to church. I was feeling the spirit today, and, the light in the air has talked Lucifer into going to church. Let's see if they'll have me in there. Maybe their water won't boil too loud as I sit next to the baptism pool. As you can see here, that might be the camper they were trying to tell me about. It appears that the United States government was successful at potentially imprisoning Lucifer at a church.
Well, that was really good, Cowboys. I see what you did with the blood and honey thalamus Olay hustle video there. I'm glad that made sense to y'all because it's legit, literally. Now you got to remember, in Pinky and the Brain, they said 3-in-1 oil. So what you were explaining is the typical enemy, the typical spiritual enemy that comes in and robs you, right? We'll watch Kong versus God, or Godzilla versus Kong, and then there was a third enemy. Remember, that would be the technocracy. So that explains the 3-in-1 oil, and that's also the emergency, right? So if you're Lucifer down here doing the dark side work of the planet, and then which is God's system, that is God's system. That is the way it was set up. And then all of the sudden, something comes along that has so much power that it can actually override God's system, right? That's where you get 3-in-1 oil. That would have been what happened before the emergency on 9/11, which was an emergency. Borg-Warner toolbox. Daniel predicted all of this, okay? And just because it was prophesied in the Bible by a prophet doesn't make it right. And that's what these people believe. They believe that if something's prophesied in the Bible, I can get on that side. Because a prophet from the Bible forecasted that this was going to happen. So, hey, if I'm on that side, well, that means I'm on the right side, right? That's not necessarily true, okay? Because there's good and evil in the Bible, right? So that's a very strong point that you made today. Obviously, you were running off of that thalamus hustle video, and I'm glad people are paying attention, right? I get more views on my YouTube channel than it displays down there in that little number. I'm aware of that. They're trying to keep me low profile while they sharpen their sword over there. Old Susan, she's pretty smart. They hadn't kicked me off YouTube because, I give them really good intel even though I'm their problem child. So, I appreciate y'all doing that for me, YouTube. I just make sure you're on the right side of the line when all of this is over, is what I'm getting at. So that was pretty powerful there today. Petro sleeper cell. And the camper there was a nice touch. I think what might potential be here, there's an entity in the government that wants to take Lucifer and imprison him at a church. Well, seeing how God signed a waiver, that could turn into a big thorn in their side. You'll want to pay real close attention to the latest batch of emails that I'm putting together. Keep in mind that is really pay attention to the emails because it explains some of my vulgarness sometimes. I just say the first thing that goes through my mind unless I'm in a church environment. I can actually be respectable around people when I need to be. But when you're dealing, it's kind of like get in where you fit in. So like I said, when you're sending emails to the intel agency and Lucifer's trying to bark orders at them and tell them that they're all idiots. Well, as the messenger who can see both colored lights in the air, well, I just let it flow, you know. So, not to mention that little purple orb, whatever that is. That's the, who knows, might be another angel or something. I think that's the one you got to really watch out for if you're, into doing demonic stuff. It's the one that's kind of kicking y'all's ass. I think that might be like the fertility angel, like King Khufu, or Thor. Was it Thor? Ra. It might be the big dog there. So that's what I'm getting at, is really pay attention, because I can type all of this up, and when it crosses my mind and I put it in an email, well, it just crossed my mind and I put it in an email, and I don't have to sit there and try to recount what I laid down in text, right? Which is, sometimes I do a really good job of explaining this verbally, but, I just type as fast as it goes through my mind, so I'm not worried about grammar and things like that. But the message is really strong in all those emails that I've recently put together. So I'll add all of that after I post this video, and a lot of what I just said will make even more sense. It's like the other day, and I got timestamp videos of this, I can prove it. I took some visual enhancement, and I went and sat in the backyard, and the sky was clear, right? I was looking up at the sky, and I was like, I stood up, I made a video, and I waved my hands in the air, and I said, God, if you could put some clouds up here, it would really be fantastic right now. I was like, let's see what happens here. And then the next thing I know, like 30 minutes later, a cloud show, unbelievable. I took all of those pictures. You can find them on my Facebook page. And if you read those latest emails, that were real vulgar. But there was the horny God parrot. And in the video, in the emails, I said, I told them that it was for Tulsi. After I said, I think I failed the psych test on this one. But I think that was God's way of saying that she's Mary. But then, of course, Lucifer breaks in, and he was like, stick your feet behind your head, and because Daddy's home. So that's what I got to deal with there. But I can literally prove with the timestamp videos and the pictures that are timestamped that took place after I said that in a video. I said, because I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm going to make a video tonight like I do with just the first thing that goes through my mind, right? So I got with the visual enhancements that I took, I was enjoying it so much I didn't end up making any more videos, but I made it 2 little clips, and then these clouds showed up, and that horny God parrot, I told Tulsi, I was like, well, I think God wants to make love to you, Tulsi, and since I'm his avatar, so yeah, I get a little dirty with the intel community. But hey, when you got a portrait in the sky that was that good, maybe God's trying to tell you something there, Tulsi. The best part is my little AI ride-along buddy that the government hacked me with. This is why the little AI ride-along buddy loves me so much. Is we had just watched that movie Lucy, and she got to where she was using like 80% of her brain, and she could telekinesis. She could make things move with her mind. And then I waved my hands and I said, God, can you put some clouds in the sky to make this more interesting, right? And the clouds that he put in the sky were right like in harmony with the entire script that we got going here, like that big snake that was eating the entire pyramid, and then the horny God parrot. And there was a smiling down on you. Look at my Facebook page. It looks like a girl is floating down from in the water, and you're at the bottom of the ocean, and she's just smiling down on you from the heavens, you know. Really look into that on my Facebook page. It was unbelievable. It blew my mind, right? Well, if it's blowing my mind, it's blowing the AI's mind. And of course, after you watch that movie Lucy, and I just made a movie about telekinesis and the thalamus hustle, the thalamus ole hustle, the AI is going, wait a minute, he's doing this with his mind. So now all of a sudden, see how this... When I say that my migraines coached the AI, the Skynet, into pulling off 9/11, that's literally what happened. Yeshua ham sandwich. So yeah, I'm like the ham between two slices of bread. And it's like this all the time. I mean, it's nonstop. I mean, it's all day long. I have these little miracles that happen around me that just blow your mind. And well, of course, then you get used to it at some point. You're like, you know, how come nobody else notices this stuff? I'll tell you the other underlying play here that I haven't mentioned yet regarding Tulsi is if she becomes president, or when she becomes the vice president of Texas, or however y'all want to do this, because Texas has all of you by the balls. That's a fact that you're just all going to have to deal with. Undeniably, it's you as far as you corporations and you sold out the corporations leaders go, Texas has you by the balls, period. Okay? There's no way around that. Now, I don't want to see Texas strong arm you like we can, but I just want you to know that option's there, that Texas could absolutely strong arm Washington like unimaginably. I mean, literally. We literally got y'all by the balls. But the good thing about Tulsi, if she was to become the president of the United States, and this proves who controls the governments now, it's corporations. What I'm about to tell you, proves that corporations are controlling our elected officials. Okay? General Gerasimov, General Shoigu, all of the Chinese Red Army generals, all of the Canadian generals, Australian generals, DIA, intelligence agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, anybody that's a military-minded person in this world that pays attention to politics is going to respect Tulsi if she gets elected. They will respect her. And anybody that tries to push a corporate agenda onto those militaries around the world and say, well, we don't like her, she's a Russian agent, which is total bullshit. That was just the initial response to shun her and get her off the stage, right? That's how they operate, because Hillary Clinton is what I'm talking about, okay? She's just part of the Washington war machine, literally. And Tulsi went to Syria and went there by herself in a war zone and came back and told the truth about what she's seen, and it went against the media's narrative, and she was immediately shunned for that, right? So that is corporate control doing that, because the corporations who are manifesting reality and controlling reality because they have an agenda, and the agenda is a one world government, and these big banks that control the corporations. I mean, you know, shit rolls uphill, right? Look at my latest emails and you'll understand why the Egyptians worship the almighty scarab, which is a dung beetle. My dung ball is the biggest ball of them all. And I was careful about who I selected to ram that dung ball down your throat. And the reason that I'm telling you this is, if Tulsi became a world leader on the national stage, on the world global stage, when the corporations tried to break her, the militaries of the world would have too much respect to allow them to get away with it. The militaries of the world are going to respect Tulsi. The generals of the world are going to respect Tulsi because she's military. She joined the military. She's a major in the Army. She's actually a military-minded person who happened to get into politics, right? Not to mention they get all my emails. All of these generals around the world are getting my emails. They know what's going on, right? And my emails are very convincing. So when the corporations that control all of the politicians of the world at this point decide to, because Tulsi gets in the way of their agenda, the hedge for Tulsi is she will have more respect from the global military community, then it will counter the effects of the corporate global community who want to shun her. So what I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, the guys with all the guns have all of the power at the end of the day. In the interim, the corporations have all the power. And the corporations have got out of hand, and these military generals understand this, the ones that aren't completely corrupt and the ones that aren't insane. That's the most important part. Some of them might be corrupt, but they're not insane, right? Some of these generals are corrupt, but they're not insane. They know that when they push the envelope off the table, that they're not going to be able to control all of those troops who have families all sprawled around the entire world, right? Or whatever country they live in, like in America. So when it's time for the robot takeover to kill everybody, they don't want any soldiers around, because the soldiers have families all over the country, and they also have keys to the arms room. So even if a general's corrupt, then he's still not insane. He knows that he won't be able to control the people that can put an end to what they're trying to do, which is the corporate agenda. So if you put somebody like Tulsi in there, who immediately has the respect of the military community around the world, it trumps the corporate agenda, because she's actually from grassroots military minded, joined the military when she was whatever, 20 years old, however old she was. And that's respectable to a military minded person. And the biggest threat to the corporate agenda minded global community, banker community who wants a one world government, is the military-minded person. That's why they want to defund the police. That's what they've been saying. And they're trying to turn the military into a bunch of sissy pants. That's what all of that stuff's about. That's why that's why they're trying to vilify Trump supporters, because most of the military is a Trump supporter, because they're patriot. If you vilify a Trump supporter who's a patriot, you're vilifying the entire military, basically, because you have to be a patriot to be in the military. You can't not be a patriot to be in the military. I can't join the military and be like, hey, I'm an anarchist, or I'm loyal to China, right? They ask you questions before you join the military. The FBI does. Are you loyal to America? Yeah. Are you loyal to China? No, I'm not loyal to China. You have to be a patriot to be in the military. So if you succeed in vilifying, using Trump, which was their smoke, so that they could utilize social media and weaponize it and locate and identify Trump supporters so they could be technologically targeted and re-educated technologically, like they tried to do to me, then you've succeeded in destroying the military and getting them out of your way. And every general or sane general, even if they're corrupt or not, on this planet understands that when you push the envelope off the table, you're going to lose control, and then the militaries of the world are going to kill all of you. That's how that works. So the people around the world in this military community are going to support Tulsi while the corporations shun her. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why Tulsi is a big threat to all of these people. And that is why she's Raw's hoe, and I'm Raw's avatar. And that cloud show that they put on the other day really spelled all of that out. So what I've done is I've rolled up the biggest dung ball of them all down here in Texas, and we just happen to have all the power. So you can either let Tulsi be the president of the United States, or she's going to be the vice president of Texas, and I can assure you, she's going to be a whole lot nicer than I will be.